Welcome to Janet's cabin. Some of you haven't been here before. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it and how much she loved it up here. We're here to celebrate a wonderful, wonderful life. And we had a little get-together yesterday. It was a remarkable turnout, and we have another remarkable turnout today. So very happy you all came, and we'll welcome you. What we're going to try to do is I'm going to try to get through my little poem I wrote about Janet. There's copies of it up here, if you haven't seen it. And then the sisters will share their thoughts and memories with Janet, and then we'll open it up for anybody else that wants to talk. Johanna is asked to go early, so we will start off with her on the volunteers, and then anybody that wants to can talk later. When we're finished sharing our thoughts and memories, Carolyn, Janet's youngest sister, has put together a beautiful slideshow which we'll play for you. And then we'll go back down to the house and we'll have a little ceremony there, and then we'll have food and drinks, okay? The poem I wrote at 4 a.m. in the morning is called Oxygen, and it kind of flowed from there, my thoughts, and I hope it brings you some memories that you're familiar with in your thoughts of Janet. Oxygen. She was like oxygen. A little of her would make your day. More energy, more hope, more wisdom. For the fortunate, we breathed her daily. Our lives enriched, our outlook brighter, no deerhound panting. My breathing is harder now, less oxygen today. Thank you. Go on, Cheryl.
I'm Cheryl. I'm the number 2 sister. Janet. J is for the joy she brought to everyone she met. A is for her artistic side. She mastered any craft that she set her hand to, whether it was sewing, knitting, quilting, or painting. N is for her never-ending optimism. She saw the glass as half full and looked for the positive in everyone. She kept her spirits high during the fight for her life. E is for her enthusiasm. She had such a love for life, whether it was running around the show ring, conducting a meeting, teaching a class, or spending time with family and friends. She was like a magnet drawing people to her. T is for true class act. Janet never had a bad word to say about anyone. She conducted herself with poise and eloquence and respected everyone around her. I will miss you, Janet, as will everyone whose life you touched.
Number 3.
I'm Lisa. Janet was 9 years older than me, and being the oldest, my younger sisters were 20 months apart, and so Janet did a lot of helping out at home. And I definitely have the memories of Janet, but too that every time I can see just as plain as day as the day they happened was Janet taking the clock off of the mantle and telling me that I needed to learn how to tell time. And she sat down on the couch and stayed there and gave me all different options until I definitely knew how to tell time. And Janet also, I can clear as day remember her teaching me how to tie my shoes. That Janet did help out a lot at home and helped my mother out. I was able to be out here in July, and I spent a week with Janet. And there was a dog show, and it wasn't far from here. I want to say Woodstock. And I know Carolyn had told me how important this dog show was because it could very well be Janet's last. And I wanted her dogs to go in the worst way. And she kept saying, I don't think we're going to make it. And I said, we're just going to plan like we're going. And I'm going to wash the dogs and we're going to get ready. And then we'll just see that morning how you feel. And Bud helped me wash the dogs. And I finally knew that Janet wasn't going to make it. And I said, Janet, I'll take those dogs for you. I can do this. I can do anything. And as soon as she knew that no matter what, I was going to take the dogs that she needed to help me get them ready, she got up, she got the toenail clippers, she clipped their nails, she got all the leads I would need, she told me where I needed to go, told me everything, and it was like she had gotten this burst of determination. And I was still taking the dogs though. The next morning, it was 6:30 in the morning, I came upstairs and Janet was dressed and sitting there, and she said, "Lisa, I'm going." And I knew she had just a set determination that she was going to go that day. And she came, and I know a lot of you guys got to see her that day. And I thank Darlene for taking that picture of me with her. And it was very hard on her that day because she came and she slept the whole afternoon and she slept the whole night. And she always had gotten up at midnight and taken another pain pill. And my sister masked what she was going through very well. She was definitely not a complainer. But she slept through that midnight pain pill, and I know the next morning she was really hurting. And so I went the next day to the dog show myself, but just that interaction with Vinny, I know I said this yesterday, but Vinny was Janet's pick of the litter that she was going to continue to raise. And I don't know why that dog wrapped himself around my heart, but I fell in love with him. And he was continually coming up to me and sticking his nose in my armpit and just always wanting me to pet him. And I knew she didn't have a home for him yet. And the first home fell through, and then the next home seemed to fall through, and I said, "Janet, I really like Vinny. I really want Vinny." And Bud I've heard him talk to friends about what kind of a salesman Janet was when it came to deerhounds. that Bud sold IBM stuff, and you had to butter the customer up, and for Janet, you had to prove that you were worthy to have one of her dogs.
Give her a check.
Right. And I didn't get to have Vinny because I didn't have a fenced-in yard. Janet wouldn't let him come home to me. And I understand, I do. But I sure love that dog. And every event that we've done, it's been the four of us girls, and each of us has our own talent and our own strength, and together we always did a lot. And Janet was as much a fourth wheel on that. So now we're only three. But thank you for all that you guys did, because she loved the deerhound community.
I'm Carolyn, and I'm the youngest. Janet was 11 years older than me, and I remember growing up being in awe of Janet and all she was doing. I was still so young, too young to go and do anything on my own, but Janet, she was always going and doing, involved in so much. She was my big sister, and I liked being around her. I remember on one of her birthdays, she and her friends were going to the movies, so I wanted to tag along to see the movie. But I was told I was too young for the movie rating. So off she went, so grown up. I wanted to be grown up just like her. When I was in elementary school, Janet would make clothes for my sister Lisa and I to wear. I always had something new to wear that other kids were jealous of, and I was so proud to show them off. She loved to sew and was extremely talented at it. She could have been a designer. What she could sew and manipulate without even a pattern to go by was truly amazing. I eventually learned how to sew myself, so I know how difficult it can be. And I often ask Janet for advice on how to improve, alter, or finish many outfits. I turned to her for help recently when I decided to tackle making a quilt for my son's bed. She got me started at Thanksgiving, and after that I would Skype her, holding up the quilt in front of the camera on the computer and asking her what I should be doing next. There wasn't anything she didn't know how to do or to achieve. Her talents as a seamstress were truly gifted and amazing. When I was 13 or 14, Janet was living in Maryland and really wanted family to come and visit. So she arranged for me to fly out and spend a couple of weeks with her. I was so excited, my first big trip all by myself. She had asked me what all I wanted to see, and I had many ideas of places to go and things to do. She had done lots of research too and had many ideas. She fit in so much in those 2 weeks. Her and I went everywhere. I think about the logistics of it now as a grown-up, knowing how far apart everything is, and I don't know how she did it. We spent time in Wildwood on the Jersey Shore. We covered all the Smithsonian museums, the White House, the Capitol, the Lincoln Memorial, and since it was the 4th of July, we sat on the steps of the Capitol watching the fireworks shoot off alongside the Washington Monument. That was a fireworks display I will never forget. It was truly incredible. We also went to Mount Vernon and Valley Forge. We spent a day at the National Zoo, too. Then I really wanted to go to Luray Caverns, and I remember her saying, well, that is farther to drive, but we can make that work. I realize now how far she drove me and how much she took me to. She made that trip one of the most memorable in my life. I had such a fantastic time, all because Janet wanted her younger sister to come and visit. She did everything she could to make my time with her incredible. Family meant everything to Janet. There wasn't anything she wouldn't do to help out her family. When I graduated from college in California, it was Janet that wanted to arrange for the sisters to take me to Hawaii and celebrate. So Janet, Cheryl, and Cheryl's friend all met up with me in LA, and we flew off to Hawaii. I never would have gone if not for this trip. It was a very treasured gift. When I turned 30, I threw myself a party, tie one on. Everyone had to come wearing a tie. I invited everyone I knew. Janet made the trip out to Minnesota. I was so touched that she came. It meant the world to me. She jumped right in and helped me with all the planning. She knew what all I would need. Her and I shot for the extra ties, the prizes, the food, the drink. During the party, she took over the hospitality duties, so I could just enjoy myself. From drink making to stocking toilet paper, she had it all under control. It was one of the best birthdays I've ever had, and made even more special because I had her there with me to celebrate. In 2005, my life took a change when my husband Brian took a new job in Connecticut. That meant leaving our home that I loved in Minneapolis and starting over in Connecticut. I didn't want to leave. My life, my career, everything was in Minneapolis. Connecticut had charm and close proximity to so much, so I figured it would take time, but we could make it work.